Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Ngute brandishes the putting in place of regional councils in Cameroon as one of the major achievements in the implementation of resolutions of the major national dialogue. John Ngute also spoke about the special status but failed to concerns or address concerns raised by some persons in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon on the non-understanding of the concept of the special status. Also in this newscast, some elite and elected officials of the southwest region of Cameroon say that those who will have the opportunity to talk to John Ngute on behalf of the people of the region should be honest enough to tell him the truth that things are not all well in the southwest region of Cameroon. Some say that most of the problems now have to do with the pace at which the resolutions of the major national dialogue are being implemented in the two conflict-stricken regions of Cameroon. Meantime, with the killing of soldiers in the English-speaking regions, lately a traditional ruler, a monarch, is speaking. He is speaking and calling on traditional rulers in the concerned regions to come up also and take their positions, also invoke the God to see into the problems faced by Cameroon as a nation in order to stop the continuous killings. In this edition of the news, you shall be getting an expert who will be taking a deeper look into the problems rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Thanks for trusting Equinoxe Television. We live from our central news desk in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Equinoxe Central News, you are on to the prime time newscast. We begin with our lead story, the visit of Prime Minister, occupants of Cameroon's Star Building to one of the conflict-stricken English-speaking regions of Cameroon. He was today on a key meeting on the implementation of the resolutions of the major national dialogue that held in Yaoundé in 2019. Prime Minister was today at the National School of Local Administration in Buea. Special envoy to Buea, Babila Jonathan, paints the picture of the arrival of the PM at Nasla.
The Prime Minister of the Republic of Cameroon, Chief Dr. Joseph John Ngute, is already here in the National School of Local Administration, Nasla, in the Southwest Regional Chieftown, Buea, and he's meeting with members of the committee to follow up the implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue, which took place in 2019. And this is the second session. They are examining, they are evaluating the implementation of those recommendations, notably with regards to the putting in place of the regional institutions, the regional assembly, and of course the House of Chiefs, and what these organs have been able to do so far in view of finding lasting solutions, finding a way out of the crisis that has been pulling on for close to 5 years today. And the Prime Minister, when he arrived here, he received some persons in audience, some stakeholders in the struggle to find lasting solutions to restore peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And he's meeting with administrative, political, civil society, traditional and religious authorities who are in the committee for the follow-up of the implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue. And it is expected that they are going to come out with other measures that will be taken in view of enhancing the implementation of those resolutions for the restoration of peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions.
I told you that PM was speaking at NASLA, the National School of Local Administration in Buea, brandished the putting in place of regional councils in Cameroon as one of the key achievements in the implementation of resolutions of the major national dialogue. However, John Ngute, the Prime Minister, failed to address concerns on the non-understanding on the special status accorded to the northwest and southwest regions during the major national dialogue. The PM says it was given because of their specificity, but most people in these regions do not understand the concept. Special envoy compiled the worries and the explanation on the special status by Prime Minister John Ngute.
As a key recommendation of the major national dialogue, government tabled the bill to institute a code on general, regional, and local authority, which enshrines the special status as stipulated and stipulates that, in quote, the law may take into consideration the specificities of certain regions with regard to their organization and function. This bill was rapidly promulgated into law, and a specific organizational and operational regime based on our historical, social, and cultural values was created in our regions. Through this process, government recognized our willingness to play an enhanced role in the formulation of national public policies, our educational system, the common law system, the management of public services and establishments in our regions, and the status of our traditional chiefs. The special status is now operational and represents an avenue of socio-political and cultural expression, taking into consideration the specificities of the Southwest and Northwest regions. While their budgets have been recently voted, there is still a lot of work to be done to ensure that the regional executive assembly in these regions are functioning optimally and delivering on the aspirations of the population.
And a cross-evaluation of the socio-economic and cultural situations of the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon by the Prime Minister tells of a complicated situation in the two English-speaking regions, characterized by some progress made towards peace and a new dimension of violence gaining grounds in the two Anglophone regions of the country. Babila Jonathan on this special regard.
In his evaluation of the prevailing socio-economic and security situation of the crisis-hit Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Djanguti highlighted evidence of improvement.
As can be attested by some key socio-economic indicators, including and not limited to school enrollment figures, the number of academic institutions which have reopened, the areas of relative security, the restart of economic activity, the gradual return of internally displaced persons, the gradual collapse of the ghost town corporations, just to name it. The once vibrant economic situation of the Southwest region is recovering slowly but steadily.
However, PM Djanguti underscores a new twist of violence in the two regions.
However significant these positive trends are, it ought to be said that there is an emerging trend of violent armed gangs engaging in more elaborate attacks with advanced weaponry. Increasingly, these isolated groups of the most violent fringe are planning and executing improvised explosive device attacks and ambush, leading to casualties among our security personnel.
Other atrocities have also been on the rise in towns and villages.
Kidnapping of civil servants and others within our communities, violent attacks on sacred places of worship, public markets, local businesses, highway banditry leading to disruptions in the lives of residents.
PM Djanguti says only collective efforts can restore peace and normalcy in the Northwest and Southwest regions.
Only through the collective determination of all the people of the Southwest and Northwest regions, as well as all well-meaning Cameroonians, that efforts of our government towards the implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue can take roots in our communities and bring about the positive change we all desire.
Meantime, some indigents of the two regions are calling for another dialogue, a dialogue that will bring on board leaders of the secessionist movement, those in jail and those out of the country, to discuss lasting solutions to the problem.
Conscious of the fact that separatist activities are still common in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country, The Prime Minister, who is also the head of government in Cameroon, called on stakeholders of the Southwest region to go to their villages and bushes to ask those operating in the areas to drop their weapons and come out onto normal life for peace to return to the conflict-stricken regions. He was speaking the Nasla in Boya. It is all the content of this report compiled by Derek Jato.
After the major national dialogue that took place in Yaoundé from the 30th of September to the 4th of October 2019, 6 months after the National School of Local Administration was born. And then over here, you could see right here, I am in front of the National Dialogue building. It is named after the major national dialogue that took place in Yaoundé. Well, the Cameroon Prime Minister and Head of Government stood where I am a while ago. It is historic that today he came for the second session of the follow-up committee for the implementation of the resolutions of the major national dialogue, and he held a meeting in the major national dialogue building here at Nasla in Boya. A lot of things have been discussed in here in this hall, but among other things, we have been made to understand that the Cameroon Prime Minister and Head of Government told the stakeholders of the Southwest region that it is time to go to the field. It is time to discuss even with the separatist fighters. Well, many people are having now that maybe in the nearest future, the separatist fighters from the bushes might be invited to various offices to come and chart the way forward for peace to return in the region. It has been made to understand again that everyone needs to come on board.
We are going to go back to work to try and put this in a very understandable form. We are going to dispatch people to all the nooks and crannies, all the different areas of the Northwest and Southwest, to broadcast all these positive changes that have taken place, including the special status which responds to what many persons in the two regions have been waiting for.
Well, we equally spoke to Senator Mbela Mukichas. He is a senator of the Southwest region, and he said it is time for stakeholders, it is time for politicians, and it is time for all the stakeholders in the Southwest region to go down to the grassroots and discuss with those who are calling the shot.
One of the fallouts of this meeting, which I cherished so much in the final communique, was the Prime Minister's desire to localize the activities of this committee. The idea is for us to go and meet the separatists, to go and meet our aggrieved populations, to let them feel those of us who are in leadership positions, let them see us, let them touch us.
Well, Meme division in the Southwest region here happens to be another hot spot. We caught up with the Kumba City Mayor.
Kumba is not geographically located like I would say Tiko, Mutengene, Boya or Lim, which makes it of course also a better hideout for call it those who are actually not sharing our views.
And that is how we saw it this 22nd day of September 2021 over here, marking the end of day 2 of Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute in the Southwest region. We are Derek Jato, Amos Fongo, Donna Gris Kamga, and Babila Jonathan for the news.
And just like the Prime Minister, who is conscious of the continuous existence of separatist activities in these regions and calling on the people to go to the bushes and tell the boys to end the war, a monarch in Cameroon is on his part highly disappointed with the way things are turning in the English-speaking regions. He's also very disappointed with some top government officials and ministers whom, according to him, are fanning the war in the Anglophone regions for personal gains. He is Sokoju Jean Ramo, the paramount ruler of Bamenju in the west region of Cameroon. He is calling on a second dialogue, but this time around a more inclusive dialogue that can bring together stakeholders in the conflict and end it. He was speaking on his official Facebook page. His views were compiled in the following report by Immaculate Fogwe.
His Royal Majesty Jean Ramos Sokoju, paramount ruler of the Bamenju clan in the West region, in a release, lashes out on the strategy being used by the Cameroonian government in solving the conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions. According to the traditional ruler, the military option is to be blamed for all the casualties recorded in that part of the country. He adds that the crisis might take a different twist given the fact that some persons in top positions are funding the crisis and may never want it to end due to the benefits they have. He, however, warns that their end is near. He wonders how leaders of the country sleep peacefully at a time when bloodshed is now rampant. To him, arrogance and pride is what is destroying the leaders of the country. He advised that the government should opt for an inclusive dialogue. To him, it is the only way to solve the crisis. He equally urged those who took up arms to lay them down so Cameroon can enjoy relative peace.
And Amnesty International, an international rights group, and Human Rights Watch have, in a new report, called for an unconditional release of those they qualify as political prisoners across Cameroon. In the joint report, the two international rights groups also condemns what they say is the abuse of the rights of this category of individuals detained in detention centers across the Republic of Cameroon. Innocent as it tells us more in the following report.
Human Rights Watch, in collaboration with Amnesty International, in the September 22, 2021 report, condemned government's repression on opposition leaders, supporters and peaceful protesters a year ago, as many of the arrested are still languishing in jails across Cameroon. The rights groups demand their immediate and unconditional release, for they were merely expressing their political views and exercising their right to peaceful assembly. Human Rights Watch asks that the Cameroonian authorities should ensure accountability for their security forces' crackdown on Cameroonians and end the repression campaign against peaceful protesters and critics. Outcome of a thorough research by Human Rights Watch Ilaria Allegrozi shows that the repression continues, with more protests banned and peaceful protesters still behind bars a year on. Militants, supporters and sympathizers of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement's opposition political party are said to be principal victims of the September 2020 crackdown, which has never been investigated for perpetrators to be held accountable and punished. Human Rights Watch regrets the repression that prevails, despite national and international condemnation, was tested in Douala on August 9th by Rebecca Enonchong, a prominent tech entrepreneur and vocal critic of the head of state. While the government authorities still resort to their old repressive tactics a year after, Fabian Offner, Amnesty International's Central Africa researcher, calls on the African Union, the African Union Commission on Human and People's Rights, ECOWAS, and Cameroon's other regional and international partners to press the government to ensure accountability for security forces violations and demand the immediate and unconditional release of all those arbitrarily detained and the respect of free speech and peaceful assembly.
And that's all coming up with Talking Points. Stay with Equinoxe. Thanks for joining us on Talking Points. We are receiving a civil society actor and a writer, Gustav Stafak. Thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
You are a civil society actor and also a writer, and we just from watching a news where we have about 80% centered on the crisis rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. You've been keen in the evolutions of things in the Anglophone regions. You've written a book titled "The Truth Between on Genocide," about the genocide. That's how you call it, rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Of course, what are these truths that people need to know?
In fact, when you talk about the world, I call it the war in the southwest and northwest regions of Cameroon, we have to come back a little bit
And it is a pity that we are still talking about this problem 5 years after the crisis started. This is a war we would have avoided, but our authorities refuse to go the way we're supposed to do to handle the issue. I think Anglophones are just unlucky to find themselves in the, how will I call it, the spiral of the French system, where no one escapes. I'm saying that because we see what is happening in other French or Francophone countries. But now, Anglophones are showing us that they are Anglophones and different from others. When we look into this problem, as I was saying earlier, it looks like Cameroon itself, our country. Things have always gone the wrong way. What am I saying that? If you look at our independence, people who asked for independence was not given independence. Independence was given to those who did not ask for it. How will you handle something that did not ask for it? During the 90s, when people were asking of...
Who are those who actually asked for it? You're talking about the UPCs?
I'm talking of the UPCs and others who asked for the independence of Cameroon. They were killed, all of them.
And handed to different people.
Yes, and the independence, they did not refuse the independence. That independence was given
handed to
those who did not ask of it.
And that has a correlation with what we're seeing today.
It has a correlation because I want to show you that Cameroon has always gone to the wrong way. You ask for something, and the person who did not ask is given the thing to handle. The second thing, during the 90s, when people stood up, Cameroonians were fed up, they stood up and said they need democracy. What happened? We know people who are still here in power, they came out and said we are not ready for it. But what happened after? They are the one handling the democracy of Cameroon. Multi-parties, they are
and priding themselves as those who
came with the change.
Multi-partyism, democracy.
Yes. That is one example. Another example that is coming to the war that is going on that nobody is happy with is the fact that when this crisis started in 2016, the people that are saying they are trying to resolve the crisis are the ones who up to today are still saying that there is no Anglophone problem. They say it and they insisted on it and they never say that there is a problem. But today, they are telling us that they are the one handling the problem. They are the one trying to resolve. How can you solve a problem that you never accepted it exists?
That's contradictory. It's disturbing.
It is contradictory, and it shows that what they are doing, they are just trying to, I don't know, to distract the people.
Probably that they've come to terms with time that there is a problem that needs a solution.
Yes, there is a problem that needs solution, but not the way they are going. Everybody knows the solution of the problem happening in the Northwest or Southwest. Everybody knows. Even my little boy in the house knows what we are to do to solve that problem. But it looks as if our...
And that's not what is being done by the government?
Not at all. We are still at the wrong path.
And you have a lot of these facts that you've stated. Some of them are remote causes, some are immediate causes, some are isolated causes. But when I was going through your publication, you had things to do with the role played by the former president Amadou Ahidjo, the role he played in the Fumban Conference, the role he played in the 1972, the role played by the current president Paul Biya in the 1984, and further to where we are today. Can you briefly go over these strategic dates and what has been done wrongly or rightly?
Yes, I think the problem that is going out now is just an accumulation of frustration.
Okay.
Why accumulation of frustration? We know what happened in 1961. But before talking about 1961, let me say something about what happened in 1953 when a delegation of Anglophones went to Britain to request for an autonomy that was given to them. In 1954, election was organized, and Ndele came out as the prime minister. It was on the 1st October.
Yes, maybe we can just fast forward it.
Very good. So I'm not saying that after that, now the two countries came together in 1961 in Fumbat. if I can call it that way. They came together and they decided to be one together. A federation was created, but you see that in 1972, they now came with a referendum without asking the other part, do you want it or not? That is, they imposed a referendum that's supposed to have 3, but they only showed 2.
They showed only 2. And you also said that even at Fuman, what was finally adopted was what was already drafted by the Aijo-led delegation from
it was
French
Cameroon. It was so well drafted that I doubt it was from Aijo. We know who drafted it.
Yes. By him, and he moved that way till the 1972. But you are saying something very interesting, that what's happening, because you have a lot of facts that will show will be coming back, but you are saying that what's happening now, everybody, even a little